Hello there once again, and welcome to American Movie Classics. I'm Bob Dorian. Today is Monday, and our double feature attraction today is played really strictly for laughs. You're going to meet some oddball characters, and you're going to see some fairly bizarre situations, and especially in our first film. I mean, it's really bizarre. First, in the Navy comedy Nobody's Perfect, David Hartman, Doug McClure, and James Whitmore face a serious problem, which is basically a U.S. battleship is visited by some very small... I'll tell you about it later. Nancy Kwan is their beautiful leading lady. Then hillbilly Mitzi Gaynor wants to be a musical comedy star in Bloodhounds of Broadway. This is based on a Damon Runyon story, so you can expect to meet some of those great New Yorkie characters that he was famous for creating. People like Lookout Louie and Titan Time Charlie and Dave the Dude. Scott Brady, Mitzi Green, and Michael O'Shea are the co-stars. Now, before we go any further, let's do the movie question of the day. Can you name that wonderful Cherokee Indian actor and consultant who acted as a technical advisor on countless films and TV series? He gained nationwide recognition in that wonderful public service commercial, the anti-pollution one. It's a crying shame. Do you remember that? Well, his name was Iron Eyes Cody. Nicky, our man on camera 3, knew that right away when I asked it yesterday. You may recall his sad expression as he looked at litter with a tear rolling down his cheek. What a touching spot that was. I'll never forget it. I still have that picture etched in my mind. His movie credits alone number more than 240 films. I'll have another question for you later, and I'll be back to tell you more about our first feature right after we see this.
Believe it or not, this house is haunted. But don't expect an ordinary ghoul or goblin, because when you see this good-looking ghost, you won't believe your eyes.
But I am real. I'm here because you believe I'm here.
Rex Harrison is the ghost, and Gene Tierney is Mrs. Muir in the film that inspired the popular TV series, The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, premiering Tuesday, May 17th on American Movie Classics.
He was a tough cop who played by his own rules.
You don't hate hoodlums, you like to beat them up. You get fun out of it.
Until he went too far. Now, he has to pay the ultimate price. Dana Andrews, Gene Tierney, Where the Sidewalk Ends. Friday on American Movie Classics. The brightest stars shine on American Movie Classics.
Let's have a little fun. I worked this out just before we did this program with our director, Danny Regan, and I forgot his name before. That's why this is really take two. Greg Close, our AD. Now, what we're going to do is show you a picture on this wall here, and I am willing to bet that everybody in the audience, although this guy is a famous movie star, you're going to think of something else. Ready? Here's the picture. What'd you think of? Right, it's David Hartman, the former host, of course, of ABC's Good Morning America. And if you looked at his early career, you'd never guess that he'd grow up to be an actor. Hartman got his degree in economics from Duke University, and he was good enough on the baseball diamond to be scouted by the pros. But he chose instead to serve our country and join the Air Force, where he was a member of the Strategic Air Command. After the service, Hartman enrolled in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and he began paying his dues. He used to work as a page for NBC. He did summer theater in New Jersey for $10 a week, didn't we all? And he spent a year on the road in My Fair Lady. Now, he might be still a relatively unknown person if it weren't for his big break, playing Rudolph, the singing waiter in Hello, Dolly. That was on Broadway. Now, playing Rudolph, the singing waiter, led to a featured role on the TV Western The Virginians. is a bit of a mystery how it all happened, but it did happen. Universal produced that TV series, so when the studio had plans to make Nobody's Perfect, the name of the film we're about to see, they tapped two of the men from Shiloh for the leads. Top billing went to Doug McClure, who was David Hartman's co-star, you might remember from The Virginian. McClure was under contract to Universal, where he had made the remake of Bojet and Shenandoah. That was with James Stewart. Now let's move to the distaff side. Our leading lady is Nancy Kwan, who had previously starred in Universal's 1961 film Flower Drum Song. Right now, let's adjourn to somewhere in the Pacific where the crew members of the USS Bustard are about to find out that they have some teeny, tiny stowaways. I'd say they're about that big. Maybe that big. That big. Let's watch Nobody's Perfect.
Next on American Movie Classics, Mitzi Gaynor sings and dances her way to love in a musical comedy based on the Damon Runyon story, Bloodhounds of Broadway. It's next on American Movie Classics.
After appearing in Nobody's Perfect, David Hartman went on to star as a doctor in TV's The Bold One, and as a teacher, of course, in Lucas Tanner. Do you remember that one? In 1975, he kind of switched gears, and he was hired on as host to ABC's Good Morning America. Now, during his 13 years on that show, he outlasted 2 co-hosts, 4 executive producers, about 100 staff members. The most amazing thing about that job was the back-breaking schedule that he had. He had to report to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he didn't leave until 12 hours later. Some people would think that's not a terrible schedule. We have people that work longer than that. Every night at home, he generally spent another hour on the telephone finalizing plans for every show. All the work paid off because with Hartman as host, Good Morning America was able to beat the Today Show in the ratings. Since retiring from the show in 1987, I only hope that he's been able to get some sleep. He continued, incidentally, to produce occasional segments for Good Morning America. Now, in addition to several TV specials, he's very interested in politics, and there's been speculation that someday we'll see him running for public office. We'll be right back.
Gregory Peck, as you've never seen him before.
We're all children to God. And with his help, we'll work and mature.
In an inspirational role of courage.
Father, some of the shells have landed in the city.
No one can destroy my church. I shall build it again.
Vincent Price and Roddy McDowell co-star in The Keys of the Kingdom, premiering Thursday, May 19th on American Movie Classics.
We're back, and I see I have a moment. You know, there are a lot of lessons that aspiring actors have to learn, some of which have absolutely nothing to do with the technique of acting at all. One is that the people who work behind the scenes are every bit as important to the making of a picture as the people who are seen by the public in the theaters. A crew, then, can make or break a career, and the performer who doesn't understand that may never really get to live up to his or her potential. Now, one actress who certainly did understand that and gave credit where it was due was Ann Sothern, who shared with us here at American Movie Classics her debt to the cinematographers, the lighting experts, the grips, and other people who helped create the images we see on the screen.
The crew is very important to me. A crew is your picture. I mean, whether it's good or it's bad. I mean, a good cameraman makes you look good or bad. Sound makes you look good or bad. The grips, the gaffers, they're all your friends. And when I was a producer and did my television shows, I chose the very best I could get in his field, every one of them. Because I don't like bossy women, and I was the producer and the head of it. So I thought, now how am I going to get around this? So I engaged each one of them the best in his field. And I said, I don't want to hear a word from you unless it's a catastrophe. And we met, and they just did their jobs beautifully, perfectly, never had a problem. Except once with my cameraman, who's sort of a temperamental guy, he was. And he said one day, and I think this straightened everybody out, he said, the director was sitting like you are there, and he said to me, cameraman, well, what do you think, Miss Southern? Would you want this, or do you want that, or would you this? And I said, I'm not the director. There's the director. Ask him. And that was all I had to do. So I never had any problems. And at the end of the season, we did 178 television shows. And at the end of each season, they'd come to me. I said, tell me everything that bugged you, that bothered you. What was wrong, anything. And we even came in with a prop man saying, I need a piece of rug about 4 by 7 here. And just anything that bugged them, they got. And it was, I, of course, shot like you do in the theater. I flew all the scenery like you do in the theater. Because there were sets, like hotel corridors and bedrooms and things like that. And I knew how long it took for a grip to get everything rolling around and all this stuff. So I said, we're going to fly it like we do in the theater, which we did, saved a lot of time. And I had one stage, and I had to make the floor like glass, just like glass, so that we didn't have to have tracks. We ran all over that stage and had no problems whatsoever with making those pictures.
Ann Sothern is such a great lady, and she's right, too. In movies or on television, the crew members are always the unsung heroes, the people who never get the credit that they really deserve. And I feel the same way about the crew that we have here on American Movie Classics. So I'd like to take this opportunity. I have a moment. I just asked Norman Blumenthal, my producer, if I had a little bit of time. I'd like to thank all of our wonderful people for working so hard to bring our show to you. Patty and Vinny and Nick and, of course, Jim and Gary today, who is a special guest of ours over on Camera One, and Greg Close and Patty on audio, and Greg Bracco and Andy and Wesley. 10 very important people who make American Movie Classics possible and who make my job a lot easier every day. And thank you for listening, and thank you to all of these nice people. We'll be right back, but first let's look at this. are back again, and I hope you enjoyed that selection from the film archive. Now, let's get on to our next feature. Director Harmon Jones was asked how he liked working with two of the featured actors in this film, and he said, I don't know when I've enjoyed working with actors so much. They arrive on time, and they know their parts, and they don't argue about close-ups, and they give me absolutely no back talk. The actors he was referring to were Mr. and Blondie, the dogs, who played the title roles in the Bloodhounds of Broadway. That's why I didn't have any problem. Now, their mournful-looking faces were compared with Charles Laughton, Rudy Valley, and Humphrey Bogart. Figure that out as you watch the picture. Now, leading lady Mitzi Gaynor said that they got those expressions from watching too much television, which I'm inclined to agree with because...